topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. It's Tuesday, and today we are going to be talking about something special. Think about you may be a CEO of a company, you may be a leader in the company, an entrepreneur, a creative, agency, and there's so much noise out there. So how do you show up authentically where it doesn't feel sleazy or that you're selling yourself out? And that's what we'll be talking about today. So let's welcome our guest.
Hello.
Welcome, KJ. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. So if you recall a moment or a person in your early life, do you recall someone or that moment that left a real positive mark on you?
Yeah, I think, I remember when I was really little, kids were playing outside. I was with my grandparents. And I remember the boys were talking about what they wanted to be when they grew up. They were going to be astronauts. They were going to be cops. They were going to be whatever. And I, wanted to be like my older brother. I wanted to be an astronaut. One of the little boys said to me, girls can't do that. They can't. The girls are the astronauts. And I remember I just ran home to my grandpa bawling, just crying, like, I can't be an astronaut. I can't, whatever, it was soul crushing real. I couldn't be an astronaut. And he looked me in the face and he said, you can be anything that you want to be. Don't ever listen to those stupid boys. And I really think that I took that to heart. Like for the rest of my life, no matter what anyone said to me, I can do whatever I want to do. You can do any single thing you put your mind to, no matter if someone tells you no. If you truly believe it's what you're meant to do, you don't let anything stand in your way. And I really do think that talk with my grandpa changed everything for me.
What a powerful moment. And that is the key. So many times what happens is we are just cruising through life, not even recognizing the gifts that we get. And we get gifts every single day. And cherishing them and carrying them forward. So as you carried that, it helped you build your character. It helped you build you. That is unique. So tell us, as you grew up, which direction did your life take? Where was your career?
So I'm from a very small town in North Dakota, more cows than people. So growing up, you were kind of limited. Like most people were farmers. My dad was a lawyer. Some people were doctors. Some people have boutiques. It was very limited what you were going to do, what you were going to be. I took the aptitude test before I went to college, and they're like, you'd be a great administrative assistant. And I thought, that's not how the story's going to end. That is not what I want to do with my life. Went to law school, hated my classes, hated arguing, hated every part of it. And so I got an internship in public relations, and I loved everything about it. I love talking. I love people. I love hearing their stories. But really, I just love people who are courageous and the underdog, and they believe in something so fiercely that they go make it, or they create a service for it, or they create a whole industry because of it. And I think that is just magical. And so that's kind of my villain origin story, I guess.
Well, that's a beautiful story, right? Like you just didn't let that aptitude, like, okay, we are thinking where you fall under. You didn't let that define you. And that is so critical because, yes, and don't get me wrong, I use assessments all the time in my coaching practice. And yet I always tell people, listen, these give you an inkling, but they do not define you. You know you the best.
Mhm.
So sounds like, you came into this industry and you fell in love with it. So tell us more about so from that internship to where you are today.
Sure. So I learned the ins and outs of everything. And at the time I thought, you know what? I want to be in front of the camera. I want to be the next Barbara Walters. I want to interview people. I want to pull their stories out from them. I want to be famous. I want lights, camera, action, the makeup, the whole nine. Like, give me the Emmys, give me the awards, give me all of the things. And then I had a chance to be in front of the camera once. And the insecurities that come out, the criticism, the people who have commentary about how you look or what you did or the faces you made, all the things, soul crushing, literally soul crushing. So much so that it put me probably I spent the next 15 years behind the camera, helping people, not wanting to get in front of it, not doing interviews like this, silently helping people do those things, encourage them to do those things, but keeping myself behind the scenes because I was worried about what people would think. I was worried about what people would think of me. I was worried about their criticisms. I didn't believe in myself enough. And I think that that's a huge mindset shift that needs to be changed for everyone. Me then, me now, founders moving forward, visibility isn't vanity. It isn't about wanting to be famous. It's survival, and it's coming from a place of service. I think most founders, and myself included, we were waiting for permission to be seen. We were waiting for permission to be visible, and that's a completely losing strategy. Visibility is a leadership skill. Stepping in front of the camera, stepping out and promoting your voice, sharing your gifts with the world, your skills with the world, your service with the world. If people can't find you, they can't hire you. They can't change their lives with your services or your products. And I think the misconception is that you have to compromise your values or become a character of yourself to get attention. But the real truth is that the most respected people in the industry are visible because they're consistent, not because they're loud, not because they're performing, not because they're a Kardashian sharing everything. I think it's being seen doesn't require selling out. It just requires showing up with attention that's tied to your values.
I love that, KJ, because that's what I believe in as well. And that's not to say that you cannot share it out. It can be different. Everybody can have different thoughts and opinions. But that said, if you look at least 95% of the people, out of most of the people don't like getting on cameras. And you mentioned that it was hard because people are sitting there and that critique and that imposter syndrome does get in your way.
Mhm.
And I'll share my story. Like, I share it openly. Like, you put me in front of 15,000 or even 50,000 people, I'm good. I can do it. But when I sit in that cold camera on
Yes.
my laptop without anybody there, I mean, if you're sitting there with me, yes, I'm all about, because, we're interacting. There's that human interaction. So I want to kind of start out with that. Is that in today's day and world, if you look at LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, it's all about getting on camera. It doesn't matter whether it's that somebody is filming you or you're filming yourself. And I have seen so many youngsters and the millennials and Gen Zs, come up with such innovative ways where they're filming themselves all over. So you brought up such a great point, that getting on camera, I mean, even to this day, I
Mhm.
can do it because it's important to get out of our discomfort zone. I still don't like it. So
Mhm.
it's just, there could be a small company or a mid-sized company, and like now the founder does need to get in front of the camera and they have to sit down and show up who they are, because you mentioned something so powerful, that you're doing a disservice to other people.
Mhm.
How can they get started?
Well, I think the first thing is a mindset shift. I think the very first thing you need to know is who you are before you even open your mouth. And that can be the same for sharing on social media, not being in front of the camera. But especially if you're in front of the camera, whether you're in front of a group of 5,555 or zero, I think most people, where they break trust is that they perform instead of presenting who they truly are. Define your core narrative. What do you want to be known for? What's your lane? Why are you even stepping in front of the camera? I think people don't respect founders who shapeshift. One day you're this, another day you're that. No one knows what you stand for. I think people respect founders who give them clarity. consistent, North Star, same message all the time. And I think your message should be recognizable even if someone strips your name off of it. So much so that, when people say let them, we all associate it with Mel Robbins right now. So I think it's something, that line. Authority isn't built by saying more. It's built by saying the same things with depth, with feeling, and coming from a place of service. And I think that, kids these days might know how to TikTok better than I know how to TikTok, but I know me, and I know I don't want to TikTok, but I also know that I know public relations, inside, outside. There is no situation you can throw me into that I won't have a solution for, that I won't have guidance for. And I know if I step in front of the camera and 0 people show up to my Instagram live, or 2,000 people show up to my Instagram live, I'm coming there to help even just one person. And that's all I need to do. People spend so much time on vanity metrics about numbers and what they're doing and who's going to like this and what they're going to think. If 1,500 people liked my Instagram post, that would be awesome. I would be so happy. If 1,500 people were following me on the street, I would be scared, and I would be hiring security, and I would be calling the police. And I think we have to put that into perspective. Right. We're not here to serve all of the people. It would be great if we could, but if you want all the money in the world, great, go for all the money in the world. But at the same time, if you can just start a ripple effect of working with one person, focusing on one person, serving one person, and then that person tells another person, then it spreads to another person, that ripple effect is going to do more for you than if you were trying to follow all the trends just to get 50 eyeballs at once. You want the right people to be attracted to what you're doing. And I think part of that is you got to share like a human, not a headline, right? Like you don't need a rags to riches story or a traumatic TED talk. You need specific experience that shape how you think. You need clean opinions and frameworks that people can actually take and use and apply in their daily life. You need a point of view that's constructive and not just performative for performative sakes. What never works is manufactured vulnerability or pity marketing. Trend hopping, people see right through it. Like you can't follow the trends forever. It shows no depth. And once the trend is over, they're like, what is the point of this person? Like, where's their substance? And I think over polished like brand speak that feels inauthentic or industry jargon, your real story is already interesting enough. No matter what it is, you don't need to distort it to be worthy of camera time or people following you or winning awards or applying for that speaking gig or that grant or anything.
Absolutely. And what you said touched my heart because we all get caught up. So initially, when we going back to my camera story, as I was doing it, I'm like, I can do a live with 2 people. And if I want to do a live, I'll do it. I'm not going to have all the shenanigans and all that. I'm just going to show up as who I'm. And if people like it, fine, because we are here to serve. As you mentioned, we are not here to please everyone, because if you kind of get into that mode, you cannot show up. And now I'm having these wonderful conversations, bringing great information for my audience. And that gives me more joy than just kind of showing up. So it's, as you're talking about, find your narrative, that it's important that whatever works for you, there's no right or wrong.
Right. And I also think that it's important to know that you don't have to overshare, right, to be visible. You know what I mean? Like, again, you don't have to have your own reality TV show. I'm not asking you to audition for Bravo. Like, boundaries are also a visibility strategy. I'm real good at boundaries. I love a good boundary, right? So you don't have to share everything to be credible. Decide what's public, decide what's private, decide what's sacred before you go on television, on Instagram, on anything. Before you share, decide what's just for you and decide what's for everyone else. You can say no to platforms, you can say no to partnerships, you can say no to conversations that are going to dilute your expertise or make you feel less than, or just don't seem to fit like what your overall goal is. Audiences respect clear boundaries. The media respects them even more, honestly. And I think respect is a byproduct of strong boundaries. Respect is a byproduct of not being endlessly available. If you had your show morning, noon, and night, your listeners might take it for granted, but they know that they can tune in when they can tune in, and they can get solid information. They can hear from great experts, and they get to hear from you. And I think that is proof that boundaries work.
Oh, absolutely. And because if you're putting that boundaries, you're being authentic in that. And you said that, you cannot like fake things. So the best way to be authentic is to be yourself. And then again, I really liked what you shared about, like, what is sacred to you, that what do you want to share. So it's not like you cannot build brands just by being totally vulnerable or anything like that. I mean, nothing wrong with that. It's again, how do you want to show up? How do you want to be seen? And a lot of times, as we talk about brand, we talk about managing the perception. So for our audience, a lot of people come from tech background and engineering background, or, they've got no clues about the PR.
Mhm.
So we've talked about the mindset shift. What would be some of the practical aspects that you could share that would help them position themselves?
Well, I think one of the first practical ways, especially in the tech world, is I think you have to lead with value, not validation, right? If your goal is approval, you're always going to feel pressure to sell out. And I think you have to decide what you're going to focus on, right? So you need to make sure you're either teaching something to someone so they can learn it, you're reframing something so they can understand it, you're challenging something like the status quo or an industry or a social norm, or you're simplifying something. You're making their life easier. And I think your value becomes undeniable when your ideas help people, even in small ways. And I think that's the first step. Authority grows when people can point to your work and say, okay, that helped me. That's good. That's what I need. But I also think a huge practical implication is consistency, because we are not good at this as human beings, right? Like, we all think if we want to have a new year, new us come January 1st. If we go to the gym on January 1st, by January 2nd, we're going to have those 6-pack abs. And that is not, sadly, how it works. Trust me, I've tried. But if you want to get in shape, if you want to be healthy, you have to eat right every single day, right? You have to go to the gym, you have to work out, you have to follow a routine. And consistency is the ultimate flex. It carries over in the business world too, especially in being visible and public relations. You don't need to be everywhere, but you need to show up where it matters repeatedly, right? Like, pick your platform with intention. You don't have to be on everyone, just pick one. You got to commit to a cadence that's sustainable for you. And then you have to stop reinventing your image every 90 days. Like, be consistent for 90 days. You can do it, because consistency is going to read as confidence. You're going to get more and more consistent as you show up, more and more confident as you show up. The confidence is going to read as credibility. People are going to start following you, knowing what you're about. They're going to be like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. They've been talking about it for days, right? And it actually makes sense. And that credibility is going to get you respect. So if you want to be unforgettable, if you want to be visible, you got to be consistent, not chaotic and not all over the place.
That definitely makes sense. And you also talk about strategic storytelling. So tell us what can be the different elements and how it can be woven into day-to-day social media, or like, getting the attention of the audience.
Well, I think one caveat we should touch on, because before we even dive into that, is that it's okay to have an opinion. Like, it's okay to have an opinion. Being respected requires having a clear stance on something in your industry. And I think people trust expertise, they trust pattern recognition, and they trust the willingness to say what others are only hinting at, or like saying the quiet part out loud, right? Like, you don't have to be controversial, you don't have to have a hot button issue, but I think you need to be clear, because neutrality isn't going to build authority, but point of view definitely will. And I think if you want to do PR without selling out, if you want to have like a simple breakdown of what you need to do, you need to be seen. That's the first thing, right? Show up consistently on one platform with a recognizable message for 90 days. I'm not saying 90 days in a row, but I'm saying routinely for 90 days. Set up your system. Then be heard. Share stories and insight that make your audience smarter. And it doesn't even have to just be things that you created. It can be an article that backs up what you just said. It can be an article that's contrarian to what you just said, and then you can prove why you think that article is wrong. It can be facts or stats or something else that backs up what you said. So first, you're going to be seen consistently. And second, you're going to be heard by sharing stories and insight that make your audience smarter. The third thing is be respected. Hold your boundaries, stay in your lane, lead with value, not theatrics, right? Like, you're here to provide value. You're coming from a place of service. You're not trying to get an Oscar for best dramatic performance, right? So be seen, be heard, be respected, because visibility done well, it's not performative, it's 100% principled.
And that definitely resonates with me, because to me, at the end of the day, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, It's like, okay, did you live by your values? Did you live by your principles? And that is so critical. And that will come through. So, for example, one of my clients had posted something that was, contrary to. So, just kind of want to have your thoughts on that. She posted something that was her opinion, and it was contrary to the mainstream beliefs. And a lot of people gave her like a nasty comment. So this is click and bait, and this was this and all that. And as we were doing coaching, like during one of the things, and I told her, like, what's your principle? If this happened in person, like, how would you deal with it? And she said, like, I would just kind of politely say, okay, you have your opinion. I have, and we just, we respectfully disagree and let's move on. And that's exactly what she did. So that is one of the ways of handling the negative, because it's going to happen. Yeah. What are some of the other ways that because people get scared, right? Like, so you've put out your heart, you have your opinion, and now you're getting all these negative feedback and people are attacking you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a huge vulnerability in being visible. It truly is. Whether it's you're an artist and you've put your art out there, you're an author and you've put your book out there, you're a coach, you put your opinion out there, truly anything. There's a vulnerability there, and we're human beings. And I don't care how tough you are on the exterior, we're all soft and squishy on the inside. It hurts. Words hurt. People can be very savage, especially online. I think a part of it is to remember that hiding behind a keyboard, no one has more courage than a person that hides behind a keyboard. Like when you said, what would you do if these people said it to your face? Most of them wouldn't. They wouldn't have the courage to. They wouldn't act that way. But hidden behind a keyboard, it creates this person. I'm a firm believer for my clients and for myself. I do not punch down. When a troll comes for me and they have something to say, that means I'm on the right track. It means I've hit a nerve, right? You either want to repel the people that aren't for you, or you want to attract the people that are for you. And one of the first rules in business I learned from one of my lawyers is you're nobody until someone comes for you, whether that's a lawsuit or with negative energy, right? So that means you're getting somewhere. Your visibility is striking a nerve. So congratulations. Like if you have your first troll, if you have your negative comments, that is like a baptism by fire for any entrepreneur or founder, right? But I think the first thing is, does it matter? Is what they're saying, does it offend you because it's true? Or does it offend you because it's just offensive? Some people, if you look at their comment history, just like to argue with strangers online. Don't punch down. Don't feed the troll. That's my biggest thing. I don't respond unless it's something that's totally incorrect. Then I try and give them one calm, fact-based, neutral, well, actually, you misquoted that and it's such and such, or here's a study that backs it up. I try to be helpful so I can educate the masses, just not that person. If they keep coming for me, I'm just going to disengage, because what do I get out of arguing with a weirdo online? Like when you argue with an idiot, then you have two idiots, right? Nobody wins. Nobody wins in this situation. And so I kind of just try and move on from it. If someone keeps harassing me, if they create different accounts, then I block them. And at a certain point, if it's truly slander or libel, then that's what lawyers are for. And lawyers are a wonderful tool if you're in business.
Those are some really, really good thoughts. And because, as you mentioned, that why engage with them? Mm-hmm. Now, another question that, a lot of people may have on their minds is that when something like this happens, mm-hmm. and as you said, that don't do it, so it makes them hesitant to share mm-hmm. their opinions. What would be like, some of the couple of mental things or mindset things or encouraging things you would tell them?
Well, my biggest thing is you've put your heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears, maybe all of your money into your business, your idea, your product, your art, your service, whatever it may be. You've gotten it to the finish line. It's out there in the world. Why would you not brag about that and share that? Why would you not let every person you created said product, service, offering for know about it? You're just sharing this cool thing you created with other people who are going to think it's cool. And yeah, there might be a Debbie Downer who won't think it's cool. That's not your person. Go find where your people are. Like they created Comic-Con for a reason, because people who like comic books want to nerd out with other people who like comic books. Will I ever go to Comic-Con? No, I don't get it. I respect what they're doing. I respect what they built. I respect the commitment of the people who dress up and go for all those days, right? So I think you just have to know your audience and your lane and realize You're not ice cream, and there are some people who don't like ice cream. You're not going to please everyone. No one's going to be happy all the time. I'm perfectly fine not being everyone's cup of tea. I know the people that I serve, and I know if I don't get in front of the camera, I know if I don't share what I know, if I don't come from a place of service, those small businesses, those founders, the people whose stories need to be told, who need eyeballs on their products or services, they're not going to get the help that they need. And so I'm dimming my light and not sharing my gift. I'm hurting other people, and that's just selfish. And that I think is the first mindset shift that needs to be made. You have a gift, you've created something, you created it for a reason. You owe it to yourself and the people that you created what you created for, to serve them, to tell them all about it. Because it's not about me as a person, KJ. It's not about you as a person. It's not about them as a founder. It's about who they can serve, which is why they did all the things that they did to get to this spot. And I think they have to remember that. It's not about you. It's about helping.
Absolutely. And that definitely lands with people that, don't shrink because of one person or something like that. And these are the moments, and these are the times when you'll have to experience that discomfort. And it's okay, because when you experience that discomfort, see it as a growth opportunity and moving one step beyond. And that can become a story in itself. So coming back to the strategic storytelling, can you tell us, what are some of the elements that usually resonate with people? If you have some examples, any frameworks, that would be great.
Yeah, well, I think there is a reason why you have your show. There's a reason why I'm in PR. There's a reason why Bob down the street started a bakery. That origin story, no matter what it is, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant we think it is, it's a story that's going to inspire other people. I think you start there. You start with your origin story, the why behind what you created, made, or established. Always, always, always lead with that story. Then I think there's point in time things like evergreen. Like it's the end of the year. People are closing out things. They're settling into routines, or they're dealing with family, or they get to celebrate family, right? All those things. If your business touches those, make sure that you have end of the year stories that you can share. On the flip side, in a couple days, it'll be the beginning of a year, and you can have beginning of the year stories. And why do people need your product, service, or offering at the beginning of the year? Those times, Mother's Day, Father's Day, summer, back to school, fall, start of sports seasons. Those are all evergreen things that are come around time after time after time. You can be replaying and promoting your business, your product, your service based on those points in time. Because truly what the media wants to see is a unique story. They want to know why this is cool, why it's unique. Then they want to know why now. Why is it timely right this second? Well, if you know your evergreen hooks, you're golden, right?
Right.
Maybe it's a trend, or maybe something the government did, or maybe something that happened in the news or Hollywood, those sorts of things. That's a why now. So it's, why is this important? Why now? And then you have to look at who your audience is. Why is it important for this audience? If you're local, why is this important for your local audience? Like I'm in Dallas. Why is anything I'm doing right now important for my local audience in Dallas? Why is anything important for a local audience in Philadelphia? Why is it important for a national audience? And those things, they tie into the evergreen theme, but also it's not rocket science. It's why now? Why does it matter to this group of people? Those are the simple things that you need to know when you're pitching your stories.
Those are really some good tips that our audience can take and implement straight away. So now, there are always questions. There's local news where you can get on, and then there is national news. And there are those so-called major media outlets like, Forbes, and that a whole lot bigger brand than the local. So can you share, if somebody is just kind of starting out, where they should focus, and as they advance, how can they approach those large media outlets?
Sure. Where they should focus is what their goal is. That tells you everything you need to know, right? When I meet with every single person, the first thing I ask them is, what would be success for you? A year from now, what media outlet signifies success for you? 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell me Oprah. And then I have to break their hearts and say, Oprah hasn't had a show in over a decade. So I don't know what to tell you guys. You're not even watching Oprah, but I hear you. Oprah's a big name. But I think it's your goal. Whatever your overall goal is going to shape the media outlets you reach out to. Whether you start with those big major broadcast networks or whether you start locally. So I have a book coming out, right, in January. And so for me, I want to reach business owners all over the world that I know need help with storytelling and public relations expertise. That's podcasts. I'm going to skip my local news. I'm going to skip the Forbes and the major outlets. I'm going to go to podcasts. I'm going to be on every single podcast I can that focuses on my audience and my niche. I'm going to get my story out there. I'm not going to worry about having the big splashy headlines. I'm not going to worry about any of that. I'm worrying about how many free shows I can do to give free advice for PR to get people to buy my book for $1 when it comes out. So that's where I'm going. If you're a local company or like a restaurant, obviously being in Forbes, it probably would be cool. It's not going to help you fill your restaurant. Being on the local news, going to help you fill your restaurant. Talking to local influencers, being featured on local blogs, that's where you should be spending your time. If you're a business coach, if you're if you want to speak on more stages, yeah, you should focus on outlets in your area of expertise, right? Like whether it's the tech sector, whether it's, the grease sector. But yeah, then you should aim for the Forbes and those like that. It helps build credibility, but it's baby steps for all of us. Some people might get lucky and they might pitch Forbes the first time and be in there. Some people, it might take 10 years. It might take more. They might never get there. But it has to be right for your audience. Right now, Forbes is not the right audience for me, for my audience. I'm skipping them, And I think so many people are like, but you have to be in Forbes. It's a business publication. You don't have to be anywhere that your audience isn't.
And that goes back to what you mentioned about what's your goal? Because if your goal is to reach those founders, reach those people who need your services, then you are showing up where they're already there.
Yep.
You're leveraging platforms, you're leveraging outlets that are already serving your clients, and that makes it so much easier. And maybe not easier, but makes more sense because you're reaching your audience directly. Because I'm sure even with Forbes and any media outlets that you see hundreds and hundreds of, there's so much noise. And so as we talk about, there's so much noise that yes, you could be on 50 different platforms. How do you turn that into a signal?
Well, I think it's your messaging. It's what you want to be known for, right? I want to be the person that helps small businesses and founders know how to do public relations. I want them to step into the spotlight and know what visibility is. That is not vanity, it's leadership and it's strategy, and they have to have it, right? So it's being very clear about where I want to appear. It's being very clear about my messaging, and it's never straying from that. If you go anywhere and search my name, or if you hopefully Google anything public relations related, I come up. And it's consistent across all platforms. My website, when I'm in interviews, when I social media presence, down to my LinkedIn, same bio, same headshots, same messaging, consistency. And that's how you break through the noise. You become the many, many touch points people need to trust, buy, know, and like you. You create those through, one, all the platforms you already have that you create. But then by appearing on shows like this, it gives you an extra boost of credibility. It gives you extra touch points. Like people might watch this show once. It's going to live forever on the internet. They might be able to tune in years from now and see the same thing. Guess what? The messages aren't going to have changed. I'll feel the same way in 10 years about visibility as I do now. And I'll probably give people the same advice.
And so, okay, this is great because you're also talking about the longevity. So first thing, like you mentioned about, is the consistency. That if you're consistent, then, wherever your audience is getting your information or wherever they're becoming aware. So it kind of takes them through that buyer's journey that, oh, they're aware. Like, hey, KJ is principled and she really kind of digs into values and all that. That's my kind of person. And from there, it creates that interest because they're listening to the same message that is consistent. So that's really, really powerful. And it helps people to not get overwhelmed. Now, what are some of the 2 or 3 things you have almost so many years, like almost 30 years of experience based on what I know about you, what would you say are 3 to 5 things that they should not be doing? We've talked a lot about what they should be doing. What are those like, no, 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 you don't even touch that?
For me, the no-no-nos are, the first no is anything that's not going to help you reach your goal. Anything that's not going to help move you forward to where you want to be and what you want to achieve. It's great to do all the things. That's the quickest path to burnout. Like, you don't need to be everywhere all the time doing all the things. You need to pick a platform. You need to pick your messages. You need to know what your goal is. Anything else falls by the wayside. Stay the path. The second thing not to do not pay for media. Do not pay for attention. Do not pay for press placement. None of those things. I see it all the time. People are like, oh, I can be featured in New York's top doctors. It's only $1,000, blah, 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 blah. No, don't do that. The ROI is not there. You do not pay for reputable media outlets. You do not pay for the placement there. That is an advertising thing. It shows up as an advertising thing. There are a million free publicity things out there where you wouldn't have to pay for. Outside of buying my book, outside of paying for a publicist, the great thing about public relations is it's free. The media needs your story. They need to cover things. They need to see videos. They need to feature things that their audience and viewers find interesting. Podcast hosts can talk all they want to in single episodes, but they need to interview people. They need to bring in experts. You're an expert. You might have a product. You might have a service. Take advantage of that free opportunity. Never, ever, ever pay for press. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you. This has been very valuable. Share with us, where can our audience reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
Sure. You can find me on my website, hearsaypr.com. And if you want to work on your visibility, I have a freebie there. It's called a visibility workbook, and that's hearsaypr.com/freebie. Or you can talk to me anytime on Instagram at KJ Blattenbauer.
Well, fantastic. Any last thoughts that you might have?
I just want to encourage all of your listeners that visibility is not vanity. It's a leadership skill. And I need you to do one thing today to make yourself a little bit more visible, whether it's fixing your bio across all platforms or finally getting up the courage to pitch yourself to a media outlet or to show up on camera.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, KJ. And we wish you all the best for your upcoming book, because I'm sure it's going to be value-packed, just like our conversation was value-packed. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, wonderful audience, because without you, the show would not be possible. We love you. Reach out to us as you always do. And let us know, how can we serve and support you to live the best life you can? And thank you, Juan, for being our tech genius. Take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.